Broncos country, we are back, and we are back sooner than we had anticipated. We had, since the last video, gotten some pretty unfortunate news regarding the Broncos, and it actually makes the signing of Quan Alexander, which we touched on in the last video, make a little bit more sense. We had gotten news in the presser today that Alex Singleton had actually torn his ACL. He tore it in the first quarter of the game against Tampa Bay, played the rest of the game, balled out, and then got sore a couple of days later. They did an MRI, and they found out that it was torn, and his season is over, which is a devastating blow. Alex Singleton is one of those players that I think amongst Broncos country is loved as a person and the player that he is, but there's a wide variety of opinions. There's a lot that love him and think he's a very, very good linebacker. There's others that think he's kind of overrated and not that good. I am one of those that think he's fantastic. He has a couple of flaws, like all players do for the most part, but man, does he bring intensity, and he brings a lot more positives to this team, not just from his play and his unbelievable ability to always make plays with his hair on fire, but also as a leader and a play caller for the defense. So this is going to be a blow that I feel like we are going to absolutely feel, especially in the short term, this week against the Jets and in the next couple weeks at minimum. And so we'll see where it is that we go from here. So in addition to the Quan Alexander signing, it's being reported that the Broncos are planning to sign Zach Cunningham to their practice squad as well. Zach Cunningham's another guy very similar to Quan Alexander, right? Had a lot of years where he was phenomenal, fantastic player, extremely productive, especially in his early seasons when he was with the Texans. He was a second-round pick out of Vanderbilt. So he's got a ton of experience, very, very productive years. But the last few years of his career, he's kind of jumped around the league and had a lot of injuries that he unfortunately had to deal with. So he spent 5 seasons with the Texans and then 2 with the Titans, and last year he was with the Eagles. And there's a lot to unpack with him as well. He was benched in his final season with the Texans. He was benched a couple times for violating some team rules or some of that stuff. And a pretty part-time player with the Titans. And the last year with the Eagles, he kind of was a part-time player too. He's a signing that makes a lot of sense just because he's a veteran player that I'm sure that they're very curious to see what he can do. How does he look physically? He should have some understanding of this offense, given that he was with Fangio and he was with the Eagles. Or no, Fangio wasn't with the Eagles last year. So not really any coaches that he's been with in the past per se. But definitely interesting stuff there. So we'll see. That's all doesn't matter so much. When we look forward to this game on Sunday, I would expect that it's going to be Cody Barton starting, obviously, as one of the linebackers. And the other starting linebacker, if I had to guess, I think it's going to be Justin Strnad. I think he's earned that opportunity to be able to get the start. I'm really curious and really looking forward to seeing how he plays. He looked really good in the preseason. He's obviously been with the team for a long time, and he's an elite special teams player, which is really where he's cut his teeth. But being in the league for several years, not being in this offense, he looked, like I said, he looked great in the preseason. I know that it's only preseason, but he was very dominant. And I think that he's going to be the one that is not only going to get the first opportunity and should get a start this week, but he might be the player calling the defense right away, just because he's the guy that makes a lot of sense, a veteran player that can come in. And then you'll probably have Christian Welch this week as the backup depth linebacker. And then I would assume that Lavelle Bailey is going to get upgraded from the practice squad, designated to be able to play in this week's game, just because, like I said, he's been here through camp, and I'm interested to see him play. He can contribute very, very highly on special teams too. So I would expect to see some Lavelle Bailey, which is really good news. But overall, Broncos country, this sucks. It really sucks. Injuries are unfortunate, and it really stinks because it kind of caught everyone by surprise, right? So these moves now make a lot of sense, but I did not think it had anything to do with Alex Singleton getting hurt. Obviously, I just know that they were looking at some linebackers really for the last several weeks. So devastating blow. Like I said, in the short term, I think it's going to be Justin Strnad and Cody Barton and Alex Welch, and I expect the elevation from Lavelle Bailey. And at some point, probably even sooner now rather than later, you're going to start to see Quan Alexander and Zach Cunningham. These are two guys that are obviously veteran players. Both of them weren't with a team for different reasons. Zach Cunningham, it seems like it might be a little bit more performance-based. I don't know about any of the attitude problems. I mean, he got suspended once, but who knows? Or he got punished, I guess, once. But who really knows? I think it was more injury-related. Obviously, with Quan Alexander, the injuries with the torn Achilles last year. But we know that before that, he was very, very good last year. He had a very solid season overall. I think this is going to affect the Broncos defense mostly in the run game. We've been pretty solid with being able to stop the run, pretty stout there. And Alex Singleton has certainly helped. And, you know, Justice Cernada is going to have some pretty big shoes to fill, but I'm confident in him. And he might be somebody that could be the full-time linebacker moving forward, and also expect for him to be a three-phase special teamer. So I'm really curious to see with him. One thing that we've always known about Justice Cernada is that when we drafted him out of Wake Forest several years back, he was always, you know, he was actually very old coming out of as a prospect, if I remember. He was like 23 or 20, 22 or 23. It was a little bit more rare back then because it was obviously pre-COVID. Highly intelligent, very, very productive, but he was a little bit limited in terms of his physical traits, kind of a 4'7" guy, not really undersized, but not oversized. So he had a little bit of limitations athletically, is what it seemed like. So he did end up getting drafted by us in the 5th round back in 2020. So but I like the fact that he's had a few years under his belt here with us. So I'm excited to see what he does, and we'll keep an eye out on it. Otherwise, you know, we'll end up having to see what happens. That's all we could deal with. What do you guys think, Broncos country? How are we feeling about the Alex Singleton news? Obviously, it's unfortunate, but also how are you guys feeling about, you know, Quan Alexander and Zach Cunningham being signed? I do love the fact that they're both very experienced veteran players. They're not necessarily old. They're in the upper 20s. I think they're both 29, actually. And do you think that if one of them pans out to become, you know, even 90% of the players that they were when they were in their prime, quote unquote, you think we'll miss a beat overall on defense? But how do you think it's going to affect us? We're just going to have to wait and see. So we'll check it out together and monitor it. But definitely wanted to bring that to y'all. Another side note, it looks like Tyler Bidet has been elevated to the 53-man roster. So congrats to him, man. He has deserved it. No doubt about it. And I'm excited to see more of him. Obviously, I think he was going to be somebody that's elevated regardless, but it makes it, I guess, a little bit easier from a roster construct standpoint of how we figure it out in the short term now with Alex Singleton going on IR. I think that there's going to be a lot of shuffling in the coming weeks. Once they feel like Quan Alexander and or Zach Cunningham are ready, they're going to elevate one of those guys, maybe even both, and they're going to have to still do some redoing for the running back room. So, oh, my bad. My recording paused. Anyways, guys, let me know what y'all think. Let's check it out, and hopefully it's hopefully this defense doesn't lose a beat, because this defense has really been the only reason why I think the Broncos have a chance of getting a decent amount of wins this year. Obviously, not talking playoffs, but they've been the only bright spot. So we'll see what kind of impact that has. Anyways, guys, till next time, remember to spend time with the people you love most. Go Broncos, and mile high salute. Until next time, guys.